Welcome to Unhappy Teacher Podcast, a safe space for educators and non-educators to share their experiences, thoughts, and opinions around education and to know that you are not alone. Here you'll be seen, you'll be heard, and you'll be empowered to live well and thrive in your professional and personal lives. I'm your host, Courtney Sillah, and today's episode I want to dedicate to the new teachers just entering the field and starting your career. I want to give you some practical advice from a veteran teacher's perspective to help you get on a good start. So let's jump right in. Number one, build relationships. Let's talk about building relationships with students and your colleagues. In a previous video, I spoke about how in my first years of teaching, it was kind of difficult for me to build relationships with my colleagues. I really was not thinking about it. Honestly, if you're just coming out of a program for teaching, you're coming out of college, university, grad school, or undergrad, your mind might be just one track where you're just trying to just jump into your career, understand the profession, understand how to teach, how your building works, understand your curriculum that you may be teaching. So for me, I was just on like a one-track mind. I'm like, I came here to work. I came here to teach. I don't have time for friends. I have my friends elsewhere. So I did not really harbor in on building those relationships. And also, just personally, there were some personal things I believe in my life that may have blocked me from receiving friendships from colleagues around me. Again, I was just concerned with working, so I did not really stop to build those relationships. So a tip for new teachers, it's okay to build relationships with your colleagues, healthy relationships with your colleagues, friendships. So if you have a teacher on your team and that becomes a friendship, welcome it, definitely welcome it. Also, build relationships with your students. It is very, very important that you get to know your students, build a rapport with them and even their families. In your first few weeks, you want to focus on doing that. I will say even, the first semester, really want to build in ways that you can bond with your students. And this does not mean that you have to be your students' friends. No, you're not there to be their best friend. You're there to be their teacher. But students want to know that their teacher likes them, that their teacher cares about them, truly cares about them. And children, they can sense when you don't like them. So even if you have that trouble student in your classroom, they still want to be liked. They're the ones actually screaming out, hey, me, look at me, I want to be liked, I want to be seen. But really focus on building those relationships. Find out what their home life is like by reaching out to the parents. Find out just things that they like, their interests. You will begin to learn your students and it will unravel if you actually take the time. Don't get caught up and all bent out of shape on simply trying to teach them curriculum and throwing tests down their throats. No. Speak life into your students. Let them know that you care for them. Let them know about yourself too. It's okay to share about yourself. That's one way to actually start building that relationship. Once they know a little bit more about you and they see that, oh, my teacher cares enough about me to share themselves with me, okay, well, let me start to open up to them and trust them. Trust me, it will also make for better classroom management down the line once you start to build those relationships. One thing, I was very proud of is that I did not really have to suspend students, or I would say in my last year, just this past year, I thought about it. I did not have to give anyone silent lunch or any of those consequences until the end of the year when they just got completely just out of control by May. But because I focused on talking to them, really trying to have meaningful conversations and help them to understand their actions and maybe why they did something that was not a part of the class rule or expectation. I did not just jump to, hey, I'm sending you out of my classroom because I don't want to be bothered with you. I took it. I actually took the time to be bothered, to be annoyed, and to really try to understand that child. I didn't throw them away. So that really, really helps with building that relationship. Okay. Number 2, be flexible. Yeah. Be very, very flexible. Flexible where you can't break. Because if you're not flexible, you will break. Okay? So I say be flexible because things are inevitable and it will change on you. For example, lesson plans. You will spend so much time creating this wonderful lesson plan and you have all the details laid out, and that's great because it showed that you took the time to actually plan. And when you don't have a plan, you have a plan to fail, right? But you took the time to plan. But know that things may occur and your plans may go right out the window. So there may be a change in schedule that day, or technology. We know technology fails. Things happen. So please be flexible. And one thing I remember early when I started teaching was I was very actually like astonished just at how I don't even know the word, but just how crazy is the word I want to say, but just how things from day to day change on a natural, regular basis at my school, which was very, very troubling for me at times because I'm thinking, okay, well, you've given me this task A through Z to do, and I have to do this curriculum and this test, but now I'm coming into the building and the schedule's changed because we need to go here, or there's this speaker, or this assembly, or there's a fire drill. Things happen. Oh, and of course, then there's the child that may interrupt your lesson. So be flexible. Do not get all bent up out of shape if things do not go your way. And that is very, very, very important to note. You're just going to have to learn to breathe and let it go and try again. Number 3, stay organized. Try your best to stay organized. Papers are going to pile up faster than you know it. Make a plan to stay organized. So that's from your lesson plan, your grades, even your classroom management expectations. Being organized is really going to help you reduce stress and save times. So I suggest getting on Pinterest. Pinterest has tons and tons and tons of resources and ideas that you can pull from on how to stay organized, especially when it comes to assignments and grades. Now, when it's time to start grading things and you can't find papers, it's going to make your life pretty stressful. Also, TikTok. Jump on TikTok. Look at some of these amazing creators. Follow myself at I am Courtney Sillah and get some advice, some tips, some ideas on how you can stay organized so that later on you don't feel like stressed out or like, oh my gosh, what happened? Especially with paper. Paper. Oh my gosh. I know I had one teacher who she did not like paper. She was definitely all digital. And if you are one of digital people, definitely use it to your advantage. But make sure that your files are in order. But also there will be some paper. You'll probably get a lot of paper from professional development, staff meetings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Get yourself a binder. If your school does not provide you a binder, get yourself a binder and start putting those papers in the binder, sectioning it off. Get a file cabinet, put those papers in the file cabinet. And then I will definitely say at least twice a semester. At least twice, even if you do it once though. You have to get rid of stuff because papers will pile up so much and then you don't want to have that desk that's now just dedicated to papers or you can't even get to your own desk. So you have to declutter. Make sure that you declutter because that's going to reduce a lot of anxiety or stress as the year goes on. Next, seek mentorship. find mentors, mentor teachers, or experienced colleagues and veterans in that building who can offer you guidance, who can share resources with you, provide support as you navigate that first year. I'm here for you. If you would love some support, or you find that you just need a little extra support that may be outside of your building, feel free to reach out to me. You can reach me at unhappyteacher.com, or if you go to our website at unhappyteacher.com, or if you go to our Instagram, social media, you can go to Unhappy Teacher, or follow me personally at I am Courtney Sillah. I am definitely here to offer any type of mentorship or coaching for first years. It is very important as you begin to navigate that you have someone that you can talk to, a trusted support system that is not just there to tell you, here's the work, here's how to teach it, do it, get it done, this is your job, but someone that can really speak to you on those days where you're confused, or you begin to even question, why did I choose this career? This is kind of maybe more than I expected. When you get to that point, don't hold it in, don't bottle it inside, don't be ashamed, because every teacher has been there. Every teacher has been there, trust me. But my advice to you would be to find that trusted person, whether that be somebody on your team, or again, someone outside that can offer you some mentorship or coaching as you navigate this field and profession of teaching. Next, it will be to establish routines. Now, if you have not already heard, your first 2 weeks are critical. Actually, the first 9 weeks. But those first 2 weeks, you have to set clear expectations for your students, because they're going to come in just from what they learn. And you don't know where they're coming from, or what backgrounds, or what previous schools or classrooms they've come from. Some students may not even have gone to school. I'm not sure about what your background will be as far as your students and the demographic, but establish routines right off the bat. Before you go into class, before you begin the first class of the year, you should have everything laid out, your expectations, not just these are the class rules, but down to how you want students to enter your classroom. What is your morning procedure? What is your procedure during your lesson time? What is students' procedures for, of course, using the bathroom, for walking in the hallway, for turning in work? What are your routines and your policies? Because you don't want students to, naturally make mistakes, and then now you're mad at them, but they really did not understand your expectation. So you have to get really, really particular. If you do not have a book already set up, or if you do not already have this typed up or filled out, please, once again, refer to unhappyteacher.com, and we have resources, some ideas to help you establish those routines if you're not really sure where to begin. But be consistent. Be consistent. It's okay to see that one of your routines or expectations is not working, it's not fitting your classroom. It's okay to change, but be sure that you have that conversation with your students so that they too are aware that, okay, the expectation has changed. But you have to be consistent. Consistency helps create a structured learning environment where students know what to expect, and it will make your life easier to teach them. Also, establish routines within yourself. This will come into play when we start talking about self-care and wellness. You too will need a routine to get you started going in the morning so that you can actually be present when you begin teaching those students. But we'll jump back into that later. My next piece of advice for new teachers entering the career: take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Teaching can be very demanding. It may take time for you to really become comfortable in your a new profession, your new school building, even if you change curriculum, it may take time for you to really find that balance. But I know you've heard of burnout. You heard of maybe all the horror stories, but here at Unhappy Teacher, we are here to support you. I'm here to support you and help you to navigate so that you can live well and thrive in this profession. But you have to prioritize yourself, okay? So, self-care activities. Make sure that if you're an outdoor person, that you're taking walks, that you're exercising, that you are also pouring to yourself mentally, whether that's reading books, looking at podcasts, talking to someone, because you matter. And you must take care of yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally so that you can sustain a healthy career, a healthy self for your students, and for your family, for your friends. Nobody wants to see you come out of your first year like, oh my gosh, what did I just get myself into? That's probably how you might feel. But it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Again, you're not the first one and you won't be the last one. But please, when people tell you to take care of yourself, just do it. Just do it because it's important. On the weekends, don't stay up thinking about those lesson plans. Go out, have fun. It's going to be very important for you to be able to balance that. Next, moving on to my next piece of advice, embrace classroom management. So, in my experience, a lot of first-year teachers will struggle with classroom management. And it's something, honestly, I think until you actually get in the classroom and begin teaching, it will be hard for you to really conceptualize it. I think it's one of those you just have to be in it to do it, in it to understand it. Now, that doesn't mean don't plan for it. Yes, definitely plan to use effective classroom management strategies. Again, you can find that on Pinterest, TikTok. I'm here to help you as well. And I'm pretty sure the schools that you are in will give you a lot of professional development surrounding this. But classroom management is going to be very, very important for you to create that positive, safe learning environment for students to feel welcome, for them to feel supported and trusted, and again, essentially to make your life easier. Now, students are going to come again from different demographics with different behaviors and issues, and you may encounter a lot of behavior and issues, but the way that you handle it will set the tone for the rest of the year. You must be able to learn how to handle situations that arise calmly, patiently, and again, be consistent with your expectations. There's going to be things that arise that you haven't dealt with naturally as a new teacher. Do not be afraid to reach out for advice. Okay, next piece of advice that I would like to offer for new teachers entering the career field would be to collaborate with your colleagues. Please create a team atmosphere and an environment. A lot of times, I know people get stuck in their ways of teaching or doing things, or maybe as a first-year teacher, you don't feel comfortable to ask. And a lot of times, you may not know what to ask, right? We don't know what we don't know, but be open to creating or to be open to participate in teamwork. Share your ideas. Even if you're not sure, share ideas. Collaborate on lesson plans and seek advice from fellow teachers. I will definitely say sharing lesson plans or collaborating on lesson plans will save you so much time, so much time. Do not be afraid to have a meeting or have a planning session with a fellow colleague on what are we teaching this week or what are we teaching next week. Don't be afraid to take someone else's lesson plan and say, oh, this is awesome. Okay, let me tweak it and work it to my classroom. All of that will really save you. Do not go in feeling like you have to do everything and create everything for yourself. Collaborate with Unhappy Teacher. Again, go to our website, download resources, and teachers pay teachers. I know you guys know about that. If you don't, get to know it. Also, AI. We have all these resources available to us now in the profession. Use them. And again, collaborate with those fellow teachers. Veteran teachers have a lot of things they can offer you, but then you also have things and new ideas to offer the field, to offer the profession. So please don't hold back because you may be timid or uncertain about what you know, but you know something, you do. So collaborate, collaborate, collaborate. It can provide fresh perspectives and solutions to some common challenges and problems. Moving on. Curriculum. Know your curriculum. And I say that because there are kind of two types of teachers. There's some that study that one subject and they may know a lot about it. For example, your major may have been English, or your major may have been math or calculus, and you have a plethora of knowledge. But you have to know the curriculum or the standards of your state, of your district, and how, I should say, how they expect you to teach it, or the expectations they have for that grade level and subject area. And you must learn how to teach it. So just because you know things, you have a lot of wisdom and knowledge about facts and how to do something, you have to learn how to teach it. Be open to ideas. Be open to professional development that can help you get these ideas and this knowledge across to students in a way that's engaging and easy for them to understand. So before you actually go into the classroom or begin this year, I would actually advise for you to just pick up a copy of your grade level, of your subject area and state standards, so that you can just glance at it and see, okay, this is what's expected for my students to learn this year. Now, don't dive into maybe trying to create lesson plans. Don't take yourself down a rabbit hole. That's not necessary, because your school is going to hopefully give you a lot of meetings on how to actually implement this in your classrooms. But again, if you find that you're not getting the support that you need from your school, from your curriculum coaches, instructional coaches, please feel free to reach out to Unhappy Teacher or to myself, Courtney Sillah. I would love to support you in this journey. Moving on. Number 10, communicate with parents. This is funny because for a few years in a row, I would say on my evaluations, where at the beginning of the year, you have to specify what are some of your goals. And it would always be to communicate more with parents, build that relationship with parents, because I just didn't really find a lot of time to. And again, I always just dealt with issues, student behaviors, and classroom management issues myself in-house. I just dealt with it. And my way of dealing with it was just speaking to students. I spent a lot of time giving my students a lot of individual attention. So it worked for me in that sense. But then I look back, there may have been a lot of times where I could have stopped a lot of issues early on, maybe if I just contacted that parent. But beyond just behavioral issues, you may have some brilliant students, some well-behaved students in your classroom. Communicate with parents. Parents love to hear about their students' progress. They want to know about what's going on in their child's life. Some parents may not be aware of the new standards that's happening or the new ways to do math, and they may feel a little intimidated. But just opening up to those parents, letting the parents know that you are there for them. Now, this may be frightening for some people who feel like, oh my gosh, but what about those difficult parents? What about those challenging parents? Don't worry about it. My thing is, again, seek mentorship, advice, have a colleague, ask your administration to support you, or invite the parents into your classroom. Invite them in, show them the curriculum, invite them to sit in a session where they can see how their child interacts with other students. But from the beginning of the year, you want to set yourself up with good communication with your parents. Use all the apps that they have nowadays if there's communication barriers. In my experience, I've taught ESOL students, so English was their second language, and respectively, some of their parents did not speak English at all. So I've had to use interpreters, I've had to use interpretive services, I've used Class Dojo where it translates for you, I've used Google Translate, I've used talking points. So there's a plethora of things out there for you to use so that you can communicate effectively with your parents. One piece of advice or suggestion I will say, at the beginning of the year, set up your welcome letter. Set up a nice welcome letter, a picture with, hey, I am your child's new teacher for the year. Give a little bit of information about yourself, and give them ways that they can contact you. Moving on to another piece of advice for new teachers to go into the school year. Be sure to celebrate yourself and your students. You are going to find throughout the year that there's going to be some bumps in roads, but make sure that you stop to recognize and celebrate both your students and your own achievements. I mean, no matter how small they are. When I talk about if you made it to work for the whole month without calling out, kudos to you. Celebrate that. I'm so serious. There were times where it was like, oh man, I may not make it to work this week. If you made it to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, kudos to yourself. Celebrate the wins. If you make it through, I would say, oh, I'm like, ooh, it's been a great week. No one got in trouble. Celebrate that. Oh man, everyone, passed the quiz this week. Celebrate that. Again, no matter how small, in my experience, when students did not get below a 50, because there were some points I've had students who were just getting 10s and 20s, and if my students all seemed to get 50% or over, I had to celebrate that because at least they understood half the test. So no matter how small, you have to look up and celebrate. And also, positive reinforcement will boost the morale in your classroom, in your building, and it will give motivation to your students. All right, moving on. Next one, learn from your mistakes. You're going to make mistakes naturally, that's okay, but learn from them. Take a time to reflect on what worked well and what you can improve on for future lessons. You should always be reflecting on what worked well in my classroom, what did my students respond to. Wow, I noticed that many of the students aced this exam here. What went well? And then when you see something bombing, don't be afraid to change course. Don't be afraid. So always reflect, learn from your mistakes. Next piece of advice, be patient with yourself. Remember to give yourself grace. You're on a journey. You're on a journey and it's not a race, okay? So be patient with yourself because there's going to be a lot of things that you just don't know yet because you are new to the field, new to the school, new to the subject. So for example, if you're teaching in one district, it may not be the same if you move to another district, or if you're in one state and you're teaching in this state. And just learning the rules of the school or the district or the building. It takes time. I remember feeling frustrated because we could be in meetings and people are throwing out terms like IEP, EIP, RTI, and I'm like, what is that again? What does this stand for again? So many acronyms to remember, right? But it's okay. You're learning, so give yourself a little grace. Next, we have use technology wisely. We talked about this earlier. Integrate technology purposefully into your lessons. We have so much technology. Sometimes it can be a little overwhelming, but find that technology that works best for your classroom and for you. Now, don't rely on it totally because we know that systems go down. But use some low-tech solutions as well, and don't be afraid to revert back to good old pencil and paper. That works every time. Moving on. Stay positive. Stay positive. Maintain a positive attitude, even on challenging days. And I say that because those challenging days will come. They will come. There have been mornings where I'm walking into school and I know that my spirit is just flustered. I may be tired, and I have to tell myself that I'm going into this classroom. I'm going to create a positive environment for myself to teach and for my students to receive the knowledge that I'm trying to give them. So what does that look like? That looks like me praying. I'm praying in the classroom. Yes, I am. I may be walking the perimeter of my classroom praying. I put on chakra balancing music. I put on gospel music if I have to. I may put on meditation music on the screen where you see like the little fishies going by. I mean, whatever I have to do to create a positive atmosphere for myself and for my students, it's important because we're in that classroom all day and all year, and we have to deal with each other. So you have to maintain a positive attitude, even amongst your colleagues. When you see that other people are bringing that negative energy, you do not have to feed into it. You are going to encounter a lot of teachers who are fed up. They're fed up. They have a lot to say about admin or about other people or about these students. And some days you may not just be able to handle that energy, that negativity. It's okay to remove yourself. It's okay to not eat in the teacher's lounge or room if you find that that's just where it seems like so much negativity. Do what you have to do to stay positive. Be that light in your school. Be that light for yourself. Now, that doesn't mean that you're naive. That doesn't mean that you don't have frustrations as well, but you do not want to sit and harbor in those negative feelings. It's going to create a miserable day, miserable week, month, and year. So find ways to stay positive. Okay, y'all still with me? We got more to go. We're at like number 16 right now. So this is a list of 20. So number 16, build professional relationships. We talked about building relationships early on with your colleagues and people in the building that can support you. But network with educators beyond your school. Get outside the building. Again, I'm here for you. Unhappy Teacher is here for you. Attend conferences, join professional organizations, do some online teacher communities for that ongoing support and development. Trust me, when you step outside of your school, it opens you up to just so much more ideas and things that you would not necessarily be exposed to. So keep yourself open to building those professional relationships and networking outside of your building. So number 17, keep learning. That goes back to professional development. Stay open to being a lifetime learner. Things change and evolve in the educational field every year. So there's always some new methods, some new strategies, best strategies. So just be open to it. It does not mean that you have to use everything that comes at your way, but just be open to it, okay? So stay curious. Read educational books, attend workshops, conferences, and pursue professional development opportunities to expand your knowledge and skills. Moving right along, balance your work and personal life. That's going to be key. That's going to be key to making sure that you do not end up on this wheel of burnout and stress. And it's going to take time to practice, but you may keep hearing this. And so take heed to it. Balance. Take heed to it. Balance your work and personal life. So strive for a healthy work-life balance. Set those boundaries where it's like, okay, I'm not bringing home this work 5 days a week. I know many teachers, including myself, I'm just like, hey, I'm not bringing this work home. at all. If it's not getting done between these contracted hours, then I can't do it. Now, there are times where you may have to bring the work home, whether it's grading or doing lesson plans, but dedicate time to it. Don't spend hours on it while you're at home doing that. No, when you're at home, spend it with your family. Again, take care of yourself, do things that you enjoy. So for example, I know that my lesson plans are due and I may have not got a chance to do them before Friday came. It's okay, give myself grace. But I'm not going to spend my whole weekend doing that. So I may have to take 2 or 3 hours to set aside on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning and just dedicate to doing that, and then I'm done. Whatever doesn't get done, oh well, But express that. If someone's waiting for you now for a deadline, don't just leave them hanging. Like say, hey, so-and-so, I apologize, this is what's happening. But balance that time. You do not want to wake up every day and night and all you can think about is school, work. That's not healthy. Yes, you're passionate. I know you're passionate about your students. You're passionate about what you're doing. You want to make sure that you're prepared and that you're well planned, but you have to learn to balance it. So please schedule some time for yourself and your personal life. Next, stay connected with students. So what does that mean? Just show an interest in your students' lives beyond academics. It's okay to, with permission from the family, to attend soccer games, basketball games, dance recitals. This was one way that I really built that rapport with my students. Building a supportive classroom community will really bring the learning experience to another level. It's really going to strengthen your relationships with your students. Those parents are going to trust you. So stay interested in their lives. Let them talk to you. One thing you can do is called morning meeting. So every morning, or if you don't have every morning, maybe choose Monday mornings where students come back from over the weekend and just have students share out something interesting that happened this week, a feeling that they've had. If you can do that every day, that's great, but you want to keep yourself interested in their lives because they're changing. Things are happening in their lives. They're experiencing maybe even death. Personally, again, in my experience, with the demographic that I've taught, I've too often dealt with families being deported, immigration issues, and have students who come to school crying or fearful. And these are things that we talk about. These are things that I let them express to me. And that is one way that I build rapport. I've also said, like, I've been to students' quinceañeras, birthday parties, dance recitals, so keep an interest in your students. And lastly, last but not least, have fun. Remember that teaching can be fun because there will come a time as you're teaching, as you're going through your day, as you're going through the weeks and months, that it just begins to feel like all you're doing is testing and data. Yep. That's what the system wants you to do. But you have to remember that you also have the power. You hold the power to set the tone in your classroom and how you teach those students. So remember to have fun. Enjoy teaching. When it gets hard, close that book, come up with something interesting and say, okay, we got to make this interesting. Because if I'm bored, if I'm not having fun, just think about how your students feel in your classroom. So try to have fun teaching. Now, these were all tips. Let me start again. So that's all I have for you. Those were some of my advice. Those were 20 pieces of advice and tips for new teachers entering the profession of teaching from a veteran's teacher perspective. Now remember, each day is a new opportunity to learn and grow. So trust yourself, be patient, and enjoy the journey of shaping these young minds. I'm your host, Courtney Sillah. Thanks for watching Unhappy Teacher Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe. Before you leave, subscribe. Press that button and subscribe to this channel, and be sure to tell a friend. I'm out.